Hello, everyone. It is News Roundup time again. We're going to talk about some of the top stories and take your comments on the air. That's what we're going to do here. And I appreciate you joining the live stream. And thanks to our moderators. Thanks, moderators. Lizzie's moderating right now. Sarah Joy is moderating. And we have also moderating Papa Bear. Thanks, Papa Bear, for moderating. And hello to our viewers like Kevin Grove and Dorian Weir and Barb Bernicke Rizel and Barry Weil. Hello. DJ Dialogue. When's Trends Budget Girl. Jennifer Tower. Sharon Heberling, good to see you. Wendy Bob. Ellen G. Linda Nielsen. Jacqueline Morgan. Gina Julia and others. Thank you for Iris Pjork and others. Thanks for tuning in. So maybe we'll start by talking about this New York mayor race. So initially I was going to cover this and do its own stream. The problem is it could take weeks to find out who won. So this is the New York Democratic mayoral primary. But basically, whoever wins the primary is going to win because New York's mostly Democratic. So pretty much whoever wins this primary is going to be the next mayor of New York. But the way they're doing it is this thing called ranked choice voting, where the voters, you don't just pick one person. You're supposed to rank your top 5 candidates. And if nobody gets 50% of the first place votes, which is, it's widely anticipated that nobody will get close to 50%, then you start looking. What they'll do is they'll eliminate the candidate with the least number of votes, and they'll take that candidate's voters and they'll award the votes to the people who that candidate voters voted for second place. So basically what they do is if nobody has 50%, which is anticipated not to happen, they start taking off candidates, and those candidates' voters, they look at their second choice and third choice and so forth. And so eventually you'll get somebody over 50%. That's the idea. And but this process takes a while. So they're not going to do any of the ranked choice stuff where they start looking at people's second, choices for or second or third or fourth choices until at least next week. Next week they start doing that. Then also there's a number of mail-in ballots. Tens of thousands, I believe, of mail-in ballots, which they're not counting tonight. So that's why I ended up not doing its own stream, because it could take weeks before we find out who won. And it's just hard to tell, because the polling has been fairly close, and it's hard to tell, the first night, we're going to know, the first night what we're going to know is we're going to know, except for the mail-in ballots, who got the most first place votes. But the person who gets the most first place votes might not be the winner of the primary. The basic idea, ranked choice voting, the idea is, so one thing it's supposed to prevent is, like in a primary like this, look at all these people running, right? If it was just whoever gets the most wins, right? If that, how it usually is in the U.S., if it was just whoever gets the most wins, you could imagine, say there was a candidate who 30% of the people loved and 70% of the people absolutely hated. Under a system where the person who just gets the most votes wins, then that person could win on a night like tonight because there's so many candidates. But under ranked choice voting, if 30% of the people love you but 70% of the people hate you, then you're probably not going to win, because you need 50% of the votes through the ranked choice process. So if 30% of the people vote you as their first choice, that's not going to be enough. You need other people to vote you as their second choice or their third choice. If everybody besides the 30% votes you, doesn't put you on their first 5 choices, you can't win the election, basically. So it's the idea of it. A big idea of ranked choice voting is that candidates will want to try to appeal to a larger section of the population because they want you done. Maybe you're not going to rank them as your first choice, but it helps them if you rank them as your second or third choice, kind of thing. So, and it's to, the idea is to, get a big idea of it is to make it so that somebody who, maybe like a third of the voters love, but the rest of the voters absolutely hate, can't just win because there's a bunch of candidates splitting votes. Daniel says ranked choice makes sense, but it's complicated. But again, imagine if this primary was just you vote for one person and whoever gets the most votes wins. Somebody could win the primary with 26% of the vote, even if the rest of the people who didn't vote for them hated them. So, and what you're seeing here as votes come in, I don't know how this is going to end up, but the polling I've seen has had people pretty close. So, I don't know that anyone's going to get. The polling I've seen lately had nobody getting 30% of the vote. So at the end of the night, I bet you're going to have something like this, where some people are in the 20s, and now and then you're going to have to go through this ranked. So they're going to have to start looking at people's second choice and their third choice and stuff. There's actually a good. History Underfoot says prevents runoff elections too. That's true. Let me there's a nice little diagram of this. Daniel says, I really like Yang, and I bet he is second for many of these voters. Here, let me show you the where is the gosh, I had a demonstration of how it worked. Where is that? I have to find it now. Ranked choice voting. No. This is interesting. This is how you fill out your ballot. See, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you rank up to 5 candidates. So you pick a first choice, a second choice, a third choice, a fourth choice, and a fifth choice. So if you voted for candidate B as your first choice and candidate B got very few votes, they would eliminate candidate B, and then they'd say, okay, well, who'd you vote for your second choice? And your vote would go to this person. So here's an example. So suppose there's 4 candidates in the first round of voting. They just look at people's first choice, and suppose you might think so suppose it ends up like this after everybody's first choice. Candidate B is winning, but they only have 39%, so nobody's gotten 50% yet. So what they'll do in the first round of ranked choice of updating the vote is they'll take the person with the least amount of votes. In this case, it would be candidate D, and they'll say, that's it, that person's out. So they'll take the people who voted for candidate D, and they'll look at who their second choice was, and they'll give the candidate D votes to the people's second choice instead of candidate D. And so you can see after that, well, some of candidate D's voters voted for C, some voted for B, and some voted for A. So you add that, and then so each of their totals each of their totals gets higher than it was before. But still nobody has 50% yet. So at this point, you eliminate the person with the least number of votes, which is candidate C, right? And then you say, then you go to look at all of the candidate C voters' ballots and you see, okay, after candidate C, who did they choose next? And then eventually you get to a point where somebody has more than 50%. It is likely that final results in ranked choice elections, this is from New York City government, will not be known until all absentee and military ballots are counted. And also till they go through all of this stuff, which could take several weeks after Election Day. And then you can see down here, it says, what are the benefits of ranked choice voting? This is what we were talking about right here. Candidates who are not your top choice still need your support as second, third, or fourth, or fifth choice. That makes them more likely to appeal to a wider audience. Also, even if your top choice candidate does not win, you can still help choose who does. Suppose you vote for a candidate that got like 10% of the vote, of the first choice votes. Normally, your vote wouldn't really matter. But in ranked choice voting, well, they'll probably look at your second choice or your third choice. So your vote might actually count towards who wins, even though your first choice, maybe only got 10%. Anyway, so I'll check and see what some analysts are saying as these votes come in. But it's like Eric Adams has been he's been leading the polls so far by a little bit. So nothing looks really super surprising here. I mean, according to how the polls have been. I guess maybe I haven't seen the latest. I don't know what the last poll said. Maybe Maya Wiley is doing better than she was doing. But I'd say these two have been the favorites. The betting, I'm guessing these two are the betting favorites, Eric Adams and Catherine Garcia. So what I'll do is, I'm going to go to predict it. One sec says, what's the downside of ranked choice voting? That's a good question. I guess one possibility is that people who aren't familiar with the process might fill out their ballots wrong. I don't know if they'd be turned off from voting because of the more complicated system. I could imagine that happening. Let's see. See if I can find a summary. Courts, ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting. Oh, I can't read the article. Sorry, courts. I had an article about this. I'm going to check what the betting odds are on who wins for mayor. This article say anything about it? Hold on, I'm not signed into this. I got to sign in. Blah, 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 blah. I feel like that's one of the possible downsides I've seen listed. But I'd like to get like a nice article on it. Politico Pro, ranked choice voting explains, blah, 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 how it works. Cons. Well, this is one. Voters' choices may not count if all of them are eliminated. If a voter does not rank all of the candidates' names on a ballot, leaving some selections blank, and if all the voters' choices are eliminated, that could result in the ballot not being counted at all. Okay, fine. I would have to, I'm sure there's other arguments you could give. It is more complicated. History Underfoot says, poll workers did a good job explaining the ballots from what I saw today. Predict it. Let's see. So what you can see is this is the predicted gambling site. As of yesterday, Eric Adams was the favorite, which I'm not surprised. And then Catherine Garcia was the second. And then Maya Wiley was the third. So, which matches up with what I've been reading. From what I've been reading and from what the polls have been suggesting, as far as I can tell, Eric Adams has been the favorite, and then second would be Catherine Garcia. So I'll have to wait until the analysts who know what they're talking about look at the numbers tonight and say, this is what we think is going on. But again, we still have a bunch of votes left to come in today, but I think it's going to end up looking something like this. So no one will be close to 50%. And at that point, under ranked choice voting, you start eliminating candidates at the bottom, and you start looking at those candidates' voters' second choice and reassigning those votes. So that's what's going to have to happen. And all the absentee ballots which got mailed in are going to have to be counted too. So that's a little update on that. Hang on one second here. What is this from? Give me 1 second. I'm going to take a couple comments in a second. I just want to pass along something. I guess the Department of Justice confirmed the thing about, when did this come out? Look at this. Department of Justice seizes websites. I'm going to talk about this in a second. I just want to post a tweet about this because the Department of Justice hadn't confirmed this and now they have. So I'm going to post a tweet about it now and talk about it in a second. A bunch of Iranian state news sites were taken down, and it looked like it was by the U.S., but the U.S. government hadn't confirmed that, but now they have confirmed it. Where is this? Where is that coming from, though? Have they, like, not posted it yet? June 22nd. It's so weird. This press release is dated today, but nobody's reporting it yet, and they haven't posted it on their Twitter feed yet. I'm guessing they'll post it soon. I'm going to hold off until they post it. Sorry, I know that's like a little bit of a topic switch. I want to yeah, they haven't posted it yet, so I'm gonna wait until they post it on their social media to talk about it or to tweet it out. Anyways, let me take some more comments with here, look at this. See, look, Dave Wasserman says, to be honest, in my still limited experience with ranked choice voting, leads of the size Eric Adams now has are pretty tough to overcome. We'll see. So he's talking about this. Yeah, there was some question about de Blasio. I believe that like people like Daniel are talking about term limits are right. De Blasio has been mayor since 2014. And blah, 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 blah. Hang on. Yes. Mayor, according to current law, the mayor is limited to 2 consecutive 4-year terms in office, but may run again after a 4-year break. That's from Wikipedia, Mayor of New York City. So he can't run again this time. Our viewer, J.R. Parnell, says term limits is the right direction to go. Beth, I don't agree with you that nobody wants to be in New York City anymore. I don't think that's true. Mark Menning says exit polls aren't that accurate. Well, with the polling, I have no idea how. Have they done exit polls of people today where they asked them like what their second and third and fourth choice was, right? So I don't know how accurate those kind of polls are, because what's going to settle this election is who people voted for their second, and third choices and that kind of thing. And so knowing who people voted for their first choice is not going to help you with that. I don't know if there were like a bunch of polling today or not. Thanks, by the way, the Slim Shadiest, for your support. Thank you, the Slim Shadiest. I just saw this here. This is from Elections Daily. I'm not familiar with them, but I am familiar with J. Miles Coleman, who's an elections expert. He retweeted Elections Daily, and it says, Elections Daily projection, the final 3 will be Eric Adams, Catherine Garcia, and Maya Wiley. Andrew Yang will not be the next mayor of New York City. I think they're just probably looking at his numbers so far. Andrew Yang is getting 10% of first choice of the first top choice votes. So they're just saying, well, if he's getting, my guess is that they're saying if he's getting 10% of the votes, maybe they're looking at poll data too, but it's, he has a lot to make up if he's only getting 10% of the first choice votes. Bab says, I wonder what other states will take up ranked voting. Yes, look, it says the vote count could take weeks. The votes announced on tonight will include only early in-person and election day ballots. Absentee ballots, which the AP estimates to be around 15 to 20% of the vote, can arrive at the Board of the Elections up to 10 days after Election Day. And The city's ranked choice voting system says if no candidate receives a majority of the first choice ballots, which is not going to happen, the last place candidate is eliminated and their votes are reallocated round by round until only 2 candidates remain. Well, or if one candidate gets 50%. But only the first round of ranked choice results will be revealed next week. Kimberly Barr says, I'm surprised Yang isn't doing better. History Underfoot says, no way will Yang win. He didn't campaign well. John Smith says, back to CNN for Yang. Bab says, I was hoping Yang would have a chance. Thanks again, the Slim Shadiest, for your support. Okay, let me take a few more comments here. Hang on. Scott Post, there is a Republican primary. Yes, there is. I don't even remember who's running. Curtis Sliwa and Fernando Mateo. That's the Republican primary. But because New York City is so Democratic, it's pretty certain that whoever wins the Democratic primary will end up being the mayor, assuming like nothing happens to them. There's just so many more Democrats in New York City. Darth Tater says Adams most likely will win. What is this? The final election is in November. November 2nd, says Wikipedia. Okay. Let us move on from the mayoral election. If I see any like interesting analysis, I'll pass it along. But we'll move on from that right now. How does that sound? Hang on one second here. I got to make a slight adjustment. It's a really interesting story today involving these Iranian news sites. So a number of Iranian news sites, Iranian state news sites, their website domains have been seized by the U.S. government. So, wait, Press TV is back up. Wait, why is PressTV.com back up now? I'm confused. Now I can see it. Press TV is back up. That's an Iranian state-run news site. that was down earlier. So why is it back up if the domain has been seized? Now I'm really confused. Oops. Redirects to another domain? That doesn't make any sense. If the US, if I type in presstv.com, if there's going to be a redirect on it, the person who controls the domain. If the domain, if presstv.com was seized by the US government, then how could Press TV redirect it to this, whatever, to some other domain? Doesn't make any sense. Am I wrong? I'm just confused. That was the message on there before. This website has been seized. So why is it working now if it was really seized? I'm very confused. It's not down. So presstv.com, that's literally where I am, is working. So presstv.com is back up after the domain was supposedly seized by the US government earlier today and was displaying a message saying as such. I'm confused. I don't know what to say. Earlier today, when you went to presstv.com, it literally just said this. It literally just said this was the only thing you saw on the website, because I tried it like 3 hours ago. It just said the domain presstv.com has been seized by the US government. Well, now if I go to presstv.com, it's the page. The page works. So if the US government really seized Press TV, well, why would they have given it back to them like 3 hours later? Right, History Underfoot says maybe they pretended to be seized. Yeah, I'm very confused. It was never, now also I believe the Department of Justice has now said that they had seized some websites. Maybe they didn't seize Press TV though. presstv.com. I mean, that's it. It's clearly working. It's working. presstv.com. Some people are saying it's not working for me. Well, it's working for me. The links work. Look. The whole site works. This is today, Tuesday, June 22nd. The whole thing works. Clear my cookies? Why should that matter? Let's try it again. No, I just tried it on a second computer and it works on the second computer. It's not working for some people. I just tried it on a couple different computers and it works. I'm confused. A bunch of you are saying it's not working for you. Sing Neon says it worked for me. See, one of our other viewers said it worked for them. Sing Neon said it worked for Sing Neon. Clear Cache, use different browser. But why should I have to do that? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I did use the links. The links work. The links all work. This is presstv.com/story. I don't see how can I be getting this story from Tuesday, June 22nd, if it were. Canadian Sunset says working here. Sonic says DNS takes a while to propagate. Steve may be getting early update. Yeah, I'm going to tell you why it was seized in a moment. If it was seized, I'm not sure. Well, I believe it's been widely reported that the U.S. seized some websites. I don't know if Press TV was one of them. Did Press TV maybe pretend to be seized and other Iranian sites were really seized? Press TV is a well-known I believe they're an English language site run by the Iranian government, but they're pretty big. I mean, it's pretty well known. I see them, I don't go to them for news, for reliable news, but yeah, Press TV is an Iranian state-owned news and documentary network that broadcasts in English and French languages. And they have a lot of followers and viewers, I would say. I mean, they're well known. So it was surprising to me to hear that the site had been taken down, but there was no confirmation of that from the U.S. government that site had been taken down. All I can tell you now is it's working for me. The Slim Shadyist says it worked for Slim Shadyist, and Slim Shadyist has never been to that site before. So what I'm wondering is, did the U.S. government maybe seize some sites but not Press TV, but Press TV decided to act like they had been seized? Because it wasn't working for me before and it's working now. Hang on, I got to give you some background on the story. I've been neglectful. So look, there's stories like this. U.S. takes down Iran-linked news sites, alleges disinformation. Okay? Now, this isn't coming from the DOJ. Oh no, look, yes. American authorities seized a range of Iran's state news website domains they accused of spreading disinformation, the U.S. Justice Department said today, a move that appeared to be a far-reaching crackdown on Iranian media amid heightened tensions between the two countries. The Justice Department said 33 of the seized websites were used by the Iranian Islamic Radio and Television Union. Blah, 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 blah. The U.S. says blah, 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 blah. The website domains are owned by U.S. companies. Blah, 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 blah. I got to read different articles about this. Most of the domains seized appear to be .net, .com, and .tv domains. Yeah, look. Oh, see, this says Press TV. See, Press TV. Does it talk about? On Tuesday, visiting the addresses of a handful of sites, including Iran State Television English language arm, Press TV, you got an error message. But did the Department of Justice ever specifically say that Press TV was on their list? Because why is it working now? It's working. Mantronic says they can't access the site on different browsers. Seems strange some can access the site. I'd like to know more as to what exactly the legal reasoning they used for seizing the sites was. Why are people saying it's cached for me? People are saying it's like cached for me. I have not. It's not cached for me. I haven't gone to the site in months. This is not an old version of the site. It's a current version of the site. This is not an old version. I don't know. It's very confusing. Alibaba says most can't load it. Let me try it on my phone. On my phone, it loads on my phone too. It loads fine on my phone as well. The whole thing on my phone. Just did it on my phone, got the whole thing. It all works. So my phone works and computer works. Works on my phone too. So I don't know, guys. Seems strange it's working on my phone and the web. Am I on Wi-Fi or mobile connection? Why does that make a difference? Should I get off Wi-Fi and try it again? All right, for you, I'll try it again. I hit refresh. Still works. Works on Wi-Fi and mobile. Spindrift says loads fine for me as well. Let me try to find some other updates. It's weird that there's supposedly a Department of Justice press release that I saw somebody posted, but when I don't know where they got it from. I want to make sure it's legit. See, if you go to Department of Justice and you look up today, there's nothing here from today, and then there's nothing on their Twitter page, and somebody posted this on Twitter, which says US seizes website, Department of Justice, but I don't know. It's weird. Like they haven't posted this on their Twitter or anything. So I want to make sure that before I tweet that out, I want to or read it, I want to make sure it's legit. Yeah. See, if you go to their Twitter, they haven't posted anything about it on their Twitter. All right, hang on. Let me try to get a more explanation about this. Okay, look. Here's an article from the New York Times about it. Officials seized the domains of about 36 websites just days after Iran elected a new hardline president and had a critical moment in nuclear negotiations. Now, what I don't know is, did they actually seize Press TV? Or is it possible that Press TV, just to publicize it, that Press TV pretended they had been seized? That's what I'm wondering. Sonic says, look up DNS change propagation if you want the explanation. I mean, I think you're probably saying it takes time for things to take effect. I don't know why. I can't imagine it would take, if this story's been reported since this morning, I can't imagine that, like, in an hour I'll turn that my computer or internet signal or whatever it is, that the ban hasn't reached where I'm coming from yet. Now, if you're saying, Sonic, that maybe it's actually online again, but that hasn't propagated to everybody, I guess I could. I just don't know the specifics, but I can't imagine that, like, oh, it just hasn't gotten to me yet. DNS propagation is the time frame it takes for DNS changes to be updated across the internet. But is this about is this selective? I mean, is this about, like, oh, well, some people might see it and some people might not? Or is it about, well, it takes time for it to change over, but once it changes over, it changes over? I don't know enough about it. Sonic says to hit all the ISPs. Tim, I don't think, yes, of course I don't think you're lying. I do believe that for some of you it's not working. I just have a hard time believing that it really never got to me. I'm wondering if maybe if it's the other way around. What I'm wondering is if the people it's not working for, will soon it'll be working for them too. RW Bill says, PressTV.com shows seized to me. Let me just read this article again. Hold on a second. Hey, a quick thanks to Sonic. Thanks Sonic, for your support. So, yeah, Sonic thinks I might be getting an early update. Okay, so thank you, Sonic. Sonic thinks what happened is maybe I'm getting an early update. Maybe Press TV has updated their site and I'm seeing it before some other people are. Okay, that's to clarify. That's what Sonic is saying. Thank you, Sonic, for your support and for your explanations. Thank you also, Babs H. Babs says, hi, Steve. Shout out to all the mods staying on top of the chat and keeping the negativity out. You guys rock. Yes, thank you to the moderators. Okay, really quick. Let's do this. New York Times. The Biden administration blocked access on Tuesday to several dozen websites linked to Iran. American and Iranian officials said, just as negotiations to bring the U.S. and Tehran back into an international nuclear court appeared to be nearing a final decision. The U.S. blocked the sites days after Iran held a presidential vote to install Ebrahim Raisi, the country's former chief judge and close ally, the clerical government's supreme leader, as its top elected official. The U.S. has accused Mr. Raisi of human rights abuses. Fine. What's the deal with it? Among the websites, see, this says among the websites that were seized were Iran's state-owned Press TV. What I'm wondering is, did the U.S. government ever say that they seized Press TV? Or is it possible that Press TV wasn't one of the ones seized, but they claimed they were? That's my question. See, Press TV themselves had this The website just said this several hours ago when I tried to go to it. And now for me, it's not saying that anymore. It's confusing. So why? One U.S. national security official said the websites, about 36 in all, were linked to disinformation efforts by Iran and other groups backed by Tehran. A few involved terror organizations that targeted coalition forces stationed overseas, said the official. Blah, 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 blah. The semi-official Fars news agency accused the government on targeting websites that belong to blah, blah, blah. American officials also seized Fars' website in 2008 when it was registered as a .com domain. The news agency switched to an Iranian domain and was back online soon afterward. A strategy that Press TV said it would soon follow. But it's not, I mean, I'm at presstv.com and it's working. So it's kind of confused. The story's confusing to me. I don't know, when does the U.S. decide to take down a site for misinformation? I don't. So I'm going to wait till the official statement from the Department of Justice where I can confirm it's really from them. But I'd like to have some perspective on this. Is this something that's commonly done by the U.S.? Is it more of a political move? So I'd love to know more about all of this. But anyways, it's still working for me, Press TV. PressTV.com, not .ir, .com. Sonic says, it looks to me that the hosting provider was seized, but Iran still has the domain control, hence back up. I'm confused, Sonic. You're saying, I'm just confused. I mean, wouldn't seizing it, what's the good of seizing it if Press TV can just post whatever they want on it? Sonic thinks Iran pointed the domain back to their own hosts. But how could they do that if, what's the good of seizing the domain if Iran can just do whatever they want with the site? Are we supposed to care if it works or not? Just curious. I think it's interesting, Linda, because it's a well-known site. And I actually think it's a big story if the U.S. shut down presstv.com. But I've been trying to figure out if the U.S. really did shut down presstv.com, and I still don't know for sure. This doesn't make sense, though. Rita, you sent me this from South China Morning Post. Several of the sites were back online within hours with new domain addresses. There's no... I literally typed in presstv.com. That's the same address. This is presstv.com. This is not a new address. This is the same address as the original one. That's not presstv.ir or something. It's presstv.com. I'm literally looking at it saying presstv.com. in my address bar. Can I right-click on the background to see if the HTML is redirected? You have to explain more about that. I don't know exactly what you mean. Sonic says the U.S. may have seized a name server, but not the domain. This is going beyond my expertise level. All I'll say is this: if the U.S. really if the U.S. took action to take over PressTV.com because they were posting misinformation, it doesn't make any sense to me that hours later I can now go to PressTV.com and see the full website. So again, what I'm wondering is, did the U.S. ever really take over PressTV.com? Jeffrey Morley says they don't seize anything physically. I understand that. Fine. I never said they seized anything physically. They cause DNS providers to change the site. The URL resolves it to be the DOJ site. That change takes time to propagate and not all will obey. I can't imagine that. I cannot imagine that everybody could. I couldn't see PressTV.com when I tried it 3 hours ago. From where I am now, when I tried it 3 hours ago, it didn't work. And now it works, okay? I'm in the same place. So it doesn't make sense to me. 3 hours ago, when I tried PressTV.com, I just got the full error message, or I got this. Now I got this. Now I'm getting the whole site. So I don't think it's correct to say, well, Steve, it just hasn't gotten to you yet. I'm not looking at a cached version. This is not an old version. It literally says Press TV domain seized by U.S. government. I'm clicking on all the links. It's not a cached version. I don't know what's Down Detector going to tell me. They just go off of whether people are reporting it not working. What does their story say? Let's look at what their story says. Good idea. This is their story in Press TV. Blah, 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 blah. This says Press TV has announced that its website will be available on .ir domain. But I'm not on that domain right now. I'm on PressTV.com. It's kind of a confusing story. See, it says Press TV's website can also be accessed at the following alternate addresses. But I'm not at any of these. I'm just at PressTV.com. They don't say in this story, well, we've gotten PressTV.com back up. The whole thing is extremely confusing. It's just very confusing. It's interesting, though. I also have no idea why it's the case that there's this site that supposedly there's a press release on this, which someone posted on Twitter. But if you actually go to the Department of Justice site and you look at the press releases, it's not there. It's not listed in the press releases from today. It's just not there. And it's not on their Twitter page. Anyways, I think it's interesting. Bill Junking Fool says maybe they paid a ransom. The Able Wolf says, I changed my VPN to a few other countries and the site is seized regardless of what origin I use. Patriot Kid says, I can access with Edge browser, not with Firefox browser in Florida. Interesting. Shaggy is still getting seized in New England. Ellie Bourne says, I just went there and it's seized. C. Swigum says it's possibly redirected. Again, if it's being redirected, how has the U.S. seized it? How has the U.S. seized PressTV.com if Press TV can just just set it up so that the traffic redirects? That doesn't make any sense to me. And in my browser, in my browser address window, it still says PressTV.com. Anyways, still loads for me. Just refreshed. It still loads for me. There it is. Please read paragraph 5 in the article on their site. The U.S. government has not officially commented on the matter, but some reports said the websites might have been hacked. But this is literally an article by Press TV. I mean, it's Iranian state media, so who knows? Who knows what they're saying? Jeffrey Morley thinks they didn't seize it. It's a half-baked attempt to take it offline, but it won't work. Now, AP says American authorities seized a range of Iran State Links news website domains. Said the U.S. Department of Justice. Oh, thank you, Karch Caprilius. Karch says the .com does not work for me. Shows the seize time, but the IR version does work. .ir version in New York. That's from Karch. Thank you, Karch, for your support. Maybe I'm just super special. Maybe I'm super special. Maybe my apartment has a secret direct connection to Iran that I never knew about, and it's letting me see the website that you guys can't. Yeah, here's another story. Still Kicking sent me this. Probably similar to the ones we've read. U.S. takes down Iran-linked news sites, alleges disinformation. The Justice Department sees 33 websites that were used by Iran, Iranian Islamic Radio and Television Union, which was singled out by the U.S. government last October for what officials described as efforts to spread disinformation and sow discord among American voters ahead of the 2020 presidential election. I think we actually maybe read this article before. It's very confusing, though. I also don't understand, why did they take these down now? Is this something they normally do? How much is this is political because of tensions with Iran? Is there worrying precedent here? All these questions about, there's not a lot of context in the articles about the whole thing. Daniel Terrell says he gets the same web page that I do. See? William Robinson says site is still up. I think I just wonder if it was ever really down. Michelle says I'm seeing it on my iPhone and iPad just fine. Rick, I don't think the DOJ would put the site back up and run all those stories on it. How am I getting on the site, says Darren? I type in presstv.com into my address bar. And then I press the enter key. Aries Pjork says, works fine for me. Yeah, Missouri Cowboy says there are other special people too. Well, anyways, I think it is clearly the U.S. government did at least try to take down some Iranian sites. Which specific ones, I'm not sure. Whether Press TV was among them, really, I'm not sure. Anyways. Marcel says, this is what I get. See, Marcel is still getting seized. Marcel says, this is what I get, and a basic trace doesn't show any redirect to another domain. The mystery continues. Juliana Wright says, I went to Press TV and I could see all the news. At the top there was that Seize banner, but I could read everything. So clearly a bunch of other people besides just Special Me, supposedly Special Me, can access it too. This is what Sonic says. Sonic says, as an example, Sonic wrote to me with an example. Sonic says, suppose Steve owns agendafree.tv. Let's say you got the domain through GoDaddy. Let's say you were hosting the website on a hosting provider like, you've already confused me. That's how little I know about this. Let's say you were hosting the website on a hosting provider like Wix.com. You may point agendafree.tv DNS to Wix.com's name servers. If I have control of Wix.com, I can redirect agendafree.com to whatever I want. However, you still have control of agendafree.tv. Sonic thinks Iran never truly lost control of the domain, but they lost some backbone essential to hosting the content. So yeah, I am not an expert on some of the stuff like you are, so I'm not going to be able to intelligently comment on any of the technical stuff, and I'm not pretending to. All I'm saying is, if the U.S., because the story we're hearing is that the U.S. wanted to take down certain sites for disinformation, okay? So if I can go to presstv.com and get the website and it works for me and it works for a bunch of you, one of two things is either the U.S. messed up and didn't do a very good job, or they never took Press TV off in the first place, and Press TV was making it up for publicity purposes. Maybe other Iranian sites got taken offline, but Press TV decided, hey, we're going to play like we were too, just to get it publicized. Those seem like the two most likely scenarios to me. I can't imagine the U.S. has somehow given control back to Iran voluntarily. So I think one of those two things happened. But to me, the more likely just seems that Press TV was never seized to begin with, and they just pretended they were. I think that's what happened, but I might be wrong. Who knows? It's still confusing, as Hedge Enemy says, why some of us can actually see it and some can't. But what I can tell you is earlier today, I was here, I couldn't get to it, now I can. But I certainly do not claim to be an expert on all the technical matters. But I am not opining on the technical matters. It's a big mystery. Sox El Gato says, PressTV.com is still seized on my devices. Daniel Terrell gets the same as me. Look, that's what Daniel Terrell, our viewer, he gets the same as me. See, it's not just me. PressTV.com. Thank you, Daniel. Oh, okay, hold on. BNO found it. Look, here it is. Department of Justice News. I hadn't seen this yet. Department of Justice, Justice News. There it is. Here's the link. U.S. seizes websites used by Iranian Islamic Radio and Television Union and Kataib Hezbollah. So it's on there. It's on the news. Justice News. Okay. Pursuant to court orders, the U.S. seized 33 websites used by Iranian Islamic Radio and Television Union and 3 websites offered by Kataib Hezbollah in violation of U.S. sanctions. Blah, 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 blah. It says these organizations are prohibited from obtaining services, including website and domain services, in the U.S. without an OFAC license. Okay. The Office of Foreign Assets Control last October designated the IRTV Union as a specially designated national for being owned or controlled by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' Quds Force. SDNs are prohibited from obtaining services, including website and domain services in the U.S. without an OFAC license. According to OFAC, the designation as an SDN was in response to Iranian regime targeting the U.S. electoral process with brazen attempts to sow discord among the voting populace by spreading disinformation online, executing malign influence operations aimed at misleading U.S. voters. OFAC's announcement explained that components of the government of Iran, blah, 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 disguised as news organizations or media outlets targeted the U.S. with disinformation. Okay, fine. These domains did not obtain a license prior to utilizing domain names. 3 additional websites, blah, 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 blah. Basically, what this says is that the U.S. government says these Iranian organizations spread disinformation last year to sow discord among the voting populace. Okay? And they said because that happened last year, the U.S. The U.S. said, well, these organizations can't use like U.S. internet companies. But again, the disinformation stuff was from last year. That's what this basically said. If I'm reading this right, it basically says, well, last year we believe we say that that these sites were posting misinformation to mess with like the U.S. election campaigns and to mislead U.S. voters. So we prohibited these sites from using American internet service from internet companies to like help them out. So now we have taken, because there's this rule that they can't use these American internet companies without our permission, we have taken those sites offline. Now, one question that comes up is like, well, why now? I assume that that they could have done this months ago, based on the same reasoning. So why did they do it today? So I guess the idea is the domain like presstv.com is maintained by a U.S. company, or whatever domain they're using. These are domains maintained by U.S. companies, and the U.S. is saying, U.S. companies, you can't provide these you can't be providing services to these Iranian sites. So that's basically what this says. But it doesn't say, well, last week these 33 sites posted this stuff. But what it basically says is these are sites that in the past have posted misinformation and we have sanctions on them. But so why did they take the action today? I don't know. Anyways, maybe it's politics. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm sure they have a reason. I'm just telling. That's what it says. As far as I can tell. Paragraph 3 tells you why. Well, no, paragraph 3 is just about the 3 sites operated by the KH. Those are different than most of the sites, is paragraph 2. It's paragraph 2 talks about most of the sites taken down, which were run by IRTVU. Paragraph 3 talks about the 3 additional sites that were operated by KH. Paragraph 4 just says these seizures were investigated by blah, 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 blah. So I don't know why you're telling me that paragraph 3 explains it all. It clearly doesn't. Paragraph 3 has nothing to do with most of the sites that were taken down. And paragraph 3 says that the sanctions on KH were issued in 2009. Right? So if I'm reading this right, I don't know. My point is it's the same thing with. It seems to me that it's what they're not saying is like last week these sites posted this really harmful disinformation. That's not what they're saying. What they're saying is these sites were not supposed to be using these U.S. internet companies because of stuff these sites have done in the past. And we've taken them offline today. Well, why today? This is what I don't understand. Thank you, BNO. Read Israel sent me this from last year. I guess this talks about I don't. Is this talk about them? Well, I'm not going to read all through this, but this is something they did last year. This was last year. U.S. seizes domain names used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. That was an action they took last year when they seized Iran. Last year, the U.S. seized 92 domain names that were unlawfully used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to engage in a global disinformation campaign. That's different than this, though. The ones last year were being operated in violation of federal law. But I don't know if it's the same law that applies in both cases. They don't seem to be mentioning the same legal rationale as they were. On a quick look through it, they don't seem to be mentioning the same legal rationale as they did for these today. Okay. It's what they keep referencing. Well, this is about the Revolutionary Guard. Last year was the Revolutionary Guard. This today wasn't the Revolutionary Guard. Foreign Agents Registration Act. It's not, again, I don't want to get into the technicalities of it, but there are things mentioned in this one today, like SDNs, specially designated national for being owned and this says owned and controlled by the Revolutionary Guard. SDNs are prohibited from obtaining services, including website and domain services, in the United States without an OFAC license. I don't know that this mentions an OFAC license in this one, does it? Let's see. Prohibit. Oh, is it down here? Pursuant to blah 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 blah. Prohibit the provision of services to government brand without a license. The Department of Treasury may issue a license through its OFAC. Further, the United States has found IRGC has provided material support. I would have to really understand how similar the reasoning is, I would have to read through it. So I'm not sure if how similar the reasoning is. But it's like a technical legal matter, and I would have to really read closely through it to know how similar it is in the two cases. Thank you, Rita, for sending that in. Anyways. But again, my question still stands. Why today? Why was this done today? Is this something they usually do or not? Is there a case to be made that this is... I'd be interested in hearing somebody make the case that... Is there a case to be made that the U.S. should not be doing this? So... Again, how does this fit with precedent? Is this something the U.S. normally does or not? I don't know. This is the analysis I'd like to see. I'll be on the lookout for some from people who know way more about this than me. I'm interested in hearing what they have to say on this. But it's just what makes the story quite interesting for me is Press TV is like a very well-known site. It's Iranian state media, but it's well known. At least for me, I know for a bunch of you still can't see it. I couldn't see it earlier today. Their Twitter account has 261,000 followers. But now I am seeing their website. Darth Tater says, that was my question too, why today? And I have not seen any explanation of why today. Also, you'd think this is something like the U.S., you know, I consider, like, Press TV is like a pretty well-known site. So, like, I would think the U.S. wouldn't want to take down PressTV.com, like, unless, like it did something really egregious recently. So that's why I was surprised by it. But I still haven't confirmed that Press TV was seized, that the domain was seized. Anyways, well. This is one of these things I think you'll have to wait a day, because the articles that are out there now don't explain that much. I think by tomorrow what you'll have is maybe you'll have articles where, like, the writers of the articles talk to some experts who really know about this field, and they'll be able to give some, you know, insight to what's going on. The Slim Shadyist says, why today? Probably because Iran's rigged election system selected a hardliner as their new leader. But there's no surprise to that. That was totally expected. Okay, let's move on. Hold on, I'll read a couple more comments, and that's going to be time to move on. Ellie Bourne says this stuff was probably planned for a long time. I don't know if it was. Let me say this. There is certainly no clear explanation given by the Justice Department in their press release today. I have not seen a single explanation, including in the Justice Department press release and any of the articles I've seen, that explains why today and why not before. Sonic says Wall Street Journal, New York Times will probably have some decent stories on this tomorrow. Yeah, what's missing is just the perspective and the context. And that I do not have. That happens sometimes. You need a day. Hey, a little check-in on the mayoral race. So this is New York City mayor Democratic primary. But basically whoever wins Democratic primary is going to end up being the next mayor. And it's ranked choice voting, so you need to get 50% to win. And the leader so far, Eric Adams, has 30%. So there's not going to be a winner tonight. And what's going to happen is, one thing that's going to happen is they're going to have to count all the mail-in ballots. And also, they're going to do this thing. Ranked choice voting is where you rank the candidates 1 to 5. And if you count all the first choices people made, this is everybody's first choice. If nobody gets 50%, well, then you start eliminating people at the bottom. And you, like what would happen now is Isaac Wright would be eliminated, and the 1135 people who voted for him, you would look at who they voted to for their second choice, and then you'd reassign his votes to the people's second choice. And then you'd see, oh, does somebody have 50% yet? Which won't happen. And you keep eliminating people at the bottom until eventually somebody has 50%. But this seems like a pretty big lead. Like, I don't know how people voted for their second choice, but it's from some stuff I've read, I'm guessing maybe people will just say, maybe the consensus of the analysts will be like, well, we don't know who won, but it's going to be hard for anybody to come back with this big of a lead. Eric Adams was the favorite anyway. History Underfoot says Maya looks like she was doing better than the polls. Well, let me see if I can find any. Hold on. Dave Wasserman's been posting about it. He said, he says, I'm 90% confident this thing is over. That's not enough for I've seen enough, but it's getting there. So he really thinks that Eric Adams is going to win. He says Eric Adams' lead has only expanded as more of the non-AD 52 portions of Brooklyn have reported. It's going to be tough for Garcia Wiley to overcome, in my opinion. He also said Eric Adams in third place in Manhattan, but leading in all 4 outer boroughs is a pretty promising recipe for success in a NYC mayoral primary. So it's looking like Eric Adams is going to win the primary and then be the next mayor, but that's not certain yet. Let's go to predicted. How's the betting? Predicted next New York City mayor. Eric Adams is now up to 24 hours. You can see the betting. This is the betting site predicted, and you can see since they started counting the vote. See, it's the price to bet on Eric Adams has gone way up. He is by far the betting favorite as of right now. Julie A says that's what it's been looking like for a few days. That's your update. Jeff Mays from the New York Times says, as Eric Adams' lead widens, aides say that he is not likely to claim an outright victory tonight. Instead, he will say something like New York ranked Eric number 1. Aries says, sucks for Yang Gang. Yes, he is he used to be a police officer. Some people are asking about crypto prices. It's not that different than it was a few hours ago. It's a little higher. Bitcoin's at 33,000. Dogecoin's at 21 cents. It's not what it was. It hasn't made up the losses from the last few days. It's a little higher than it was. K-Wick says, interesting he wasn't endorsed by the police union. So I'm not going to get all into the candidates now, but really quick, I can show you this. You can find these little summaries. New Yorker's head of the polls. This is NPR. The front-runner, Eric Adams. Adams went into politics after a lengthy career as a police officer and captain with the NYPD. He's currently the borough president of Brooklyn, which has such a large population that if it were its own city, it would be one of the 5 largest in the U.S. He wants to be New York's second black mayor. Oh, there's not even, What voters care about, public safety, the twin issues of crime and how the police should interact with the public are at the center of the race. The topics are more than a reflection of the reckoning that has taken place in the U.S. since George Floyd's death last year. New York City is suffering from a spike in violence. Shootings are up 77% year to date. Adams has made strong promises to crack down on gun violence, saying he wants to bring back a reformed version of the NYPD's controversial anti-crime team, which was disbanded last June. The plainclothes operations were linked to the city's aggressive stop and frisk policy and have also been tied to a high rate of deadly shootings and civilian complaints. But Adams is also known as someone who has I want to get this right. I want to say who is like advocated for better treatment of people by the police. Let's see here. Let me get you a different summary. Curbed, New York Magazine. Eric Adams. Adams, who entered politics after a 23-year career with the NYPD, co-founded 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care, a group that spoke out against police brutality from inside the force while he was an officer. He himself was beaten by cops as a teenager. He has been unabashedly pro-development. He has cultivated a reputation as a champion for immigrant communities and the needs of small businesses. As a former cop, he has nuanced views on police reform and can perhaps build a coalition of black New Yorkers and more conservative white voters. Anyways. And I believe Maya Wiley is like the most progressive of the major candidates. She has positioned herself, a black woman, as an avatar for addressing the city's racial and economic inequities. And then Catherine Garcia has been in the de Blasio administration. She is the New York City Sanitation Commissioner, and she's also done other things too. She was tasked with leading the city's efforts to abate lead paint exposure in children, named the interim chair and CEO of the New York City Housing Authority for part of 2019, also served as the city's emergency food czar this year to combat food insecurity for New Yorkers living during the pandemic. Anyways, it's looking like it's going to be Eric Adams. Low Roller Scratcher says Maya's like AOC. I believed AOC endorsed Maya Wiley, if I have that right. Yeah, AOC endorsed Maya Wiley. Devotee says the anti-crime unit are thugs. I don't know enough about it. Oh, look. Sam Jackson sent me this. Andrew Yang drops out of New York City mayoral race. That's from Bloomberg Politics. Well, he wasn't going to win. Like, it's a little weird to say drops out because he didn't drop out early. Drop out, you normally say if somebody drops out early. I think it's more correct to say he conceded. Also, like, you can't drop out. There's a procedure. They can't just allot his votes to other people now. They have to follow the procedure. April thinks Wiley is too liberal for NYC. You know, it's not saying much that because he ran. People have voted. It's election day. People already voted. The polls are closed. He did not drop out. He is conceding. You know, Rita's Reel points out that Press TV, which we were talking about earlier, has 3.6 million followers on Facebook. See, it's a very big, well-known site. It's Iranian state-run. Yeah, so Yang is only getting 11% right now of the first choice votes. So my guess is there's no realistic chance for him to win. Okay. By the way, I hadn't seen this. Sam Jackson sent me this. I hadn't seen this. KView says Austin police now have a new suspect named DeAndre Jamiris White, who they believe to be the primary gunman in the mass shooting on 6th Street. Officials are asking for the public's help locating White, who is considered armed and dangerous. I hadn't even heard this. I wonder if the Austin police posted about this. See, new suspect identified in June 12th homicide. No, that's not. That's on 6th Street. That's it right here. Original suspects charges dropped by Travis County. New suspect. The APD has identified a new suspect in the mass shooting. After the shooting, White changed his appearance by cutting and dyeing his hair. He was interviewed by APD detectives originally and then returned to Killeen, Texas, where he went into hiding. He's considered armed and dangerous. Although they did have involvement in the shooting incident, charges against the 2 original suspects have now been dropped. How about that? So they had the wrong people. That's interesting. I wonder if Tony, is it Plohetsky? Did he post about this? He's a good reporter in Austin. Let's see. Austin interim police chief providing more details on that shooting, which was like 10 days ago, saying 2 rival groups encountered each other on 6th Street, exchanged words, and that many members of group had guns. Police now have a suspect with the last name White. Interesting. Thank you, Samuel, for the tweet. I hadn't seen that update. I actually want to post this. Where's the Austin police? I haven't found a good summary of it, so I'm going to post it myself. New suspect. Austin police are now searching for a new suspect in the March, this was, where is it here? June 12th mass shooting incident. The charges against the original two suspects have been dropped. That's what I wanted to say. Blah, 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 blah. Where does it say the charges will be dropped? Blah, 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 blah. Charges against the two original suspects have been dropped. Right. Austin police are now searching for a new suspect in the June 12th mass shooting incident. The charges against the original two suspects have been dropped. Okay. There you go. Thanks again, Samuel Jackson, for bringing the story to my attention. Why is somebody mentioning George Soros in the chat? That's going to the Kooky channel. Go to the Kooky channel if you want to start obsessing about George Soros. Not here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Andrew Yang. I am not going to become the next mayor of New York based on the numbers we are seeing tonight. I am conceding this race. That's from Liam Stack. There's the quote. Hey, thanks to our moderators who are there. Linda Belk has been moderating. Lady Edith, thank you. Short Stack, Sarah Joy. I appreciate it. Also, Ellie Bourne and Papa Bear. Thank you for modding. Sonic says, Kooky Person Channel is sending people back here for believing Earth is round. All right, what else did I want to discuss? Oh, by the way, you know, I've seen some concern raised about the quote Delta Plus variant. Okay, and somebody messaged me about this, and I guess it's like a further mutation of the Delta variant. But before you panic about the Delta plus variant, I was trying to find some articles on it. They mostly seem to be in the Indian press. But this article basically says, well, maybe a certain treatment doesn't work on it, but it doesn't say that, like, oh, it's the vaccines won't work on it. So it says, this is from the Times of India. The Delta variant that first surfaced in India is feared to have mutated into a more virulent, right? Virulent. I never remembered how to pronounce this word. Why am I not hearing it? Is the sound not on? Why am I not hearing this? Were you guys hearing that? Huh. Let's try this again. Oh, I have the sound off.
Virulent.
Okay. Means deadly or harmful. Okay. So the Delta variant is feared to have mutated into a more virulent version called Delta Plus, one that is capable of resisting even the monoclonal antibodies cocktail currently being prescribed as a cure if you already are sick. So that doesn't mean the vaccines aren't gonna work on it. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. As of June 7th, there were 6 cases of Delta Plus reported in India. Some cases from Delta Plus around the world. Blah, 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 blah. So basically, there's this question about whether Delta Plus is. I don't even know what the evidence is on monoclonal antibodies. How much they help people who are sick, but it's saying that maybe it makes that treatment help less. But it says, allaying fears, immunologist Vinita Bal noted that while there may be some setback in the use of commercial antibody cocktail treatments due to the new variant, resistance to the antibody cocktail therapy is not an indication of higher virulence, meaning being more harmful, or severity of disease. I'm not seeing anything saying that this Delta Plus variant, like the vaccines won't work on it and all that stuff. So I would just be careful if you see panicked posts about the Delta Plus variant. I haven't seen much about it, but again, it doesn't seem like there's a big reason to panic at the moment. Here, regarding the antibody treatments, this was January 6th of this year. Doctors encouraged by antibody treatments for COVID-19. There is skepticism over whether they work, but 2 major health systems have had good success in deploying these medications, and they're reporting hopeful results. Anyways, that's from NPR in January. I don't know what the latest information is on that. Okay. So I'll keep an eye on that, but I haven't seen much about the Delta Plus variant. WLO Gator says, vaccinated people don't need to worry. It's people who are not vaccinated who should be concerned. Now, this is Delta Plus is different than Delta. Okay, you are watching our live news roundup. Hang on 1 second here. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to do. I need to take a 1-minute break. I'm coming right back in 1 minute, and we'll continue the news roundup in 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, now, my question is, hang on. I'm wondering, should we maybe do, because we talked about the big things I wanted to talk about. I'm wondering, oh, by the way, AJ says, can you explain the difference between agenda-free TV and agenda-free TV 2? So on YouTube, I have 2 news channels, only on YouTube. On the other platforms, they're just agenda-free TV. On YouTube, we have agenda-free TV, which is the main news channel for big breaking news stories. That's agenda-free TV. But then for the news roundups, we have agenda-free TV 2. And sometimes like smaller news stories. So big breaking news stories, agenda-free TV. News roundups and smaller news stories, agenda-free TV 2. That's the difference. And then I also have on YouTube one other channel called Look Nerd. That's my personal channel, where we do some live streams that are not about news. So if you like some non-news stuff, check out Look Nerd. Yes, Doom Chaser. Eric Adams looks like he's going to be the next mayor of New York, but he was the favorite coming into tonight. But we don't know. We won't know probably for a couple weeks exactly if he won. We'll have to find out for sure. But it's looking good for him. Okay, let's see here. John Elliott says vaccines will never work, I think he means completely, to stop the pandemic until poorer countries have access to them because of the mutations. All right, I'm wondering if maybe we should do a Lookner stream, because I covered the big things we wanted to get to. What do you guys think? Should we jump over to Lookner and do a stream there? I'll see what the viewers say. Carlos says yes. Aries says yes. Michelle says yes. People are saying yes. All right, I think we're going to do that. I think we're going to go over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up this stream here, and then maybe in like 15, 20 minutes, just after I get done here and set that up, we'll do a stream on Lookner. Ernesto said no. We have a no vote from Ernesto. Ernesto, you're getting outvoted. So if you want to, come on over to the YouTube channel Lookner in about 15, 20 minutes. By the way, if you subscribe to any of the YouTube channels, make sure you click the notifications bell and choose all notifications. We'll go do that. Hey, thank you for joining, for watching the News Roundup tonight. I very much appreciate you tuning in. And thanks for also letting me read your comments and for sending me news items and for all of your help covering the stuff. Thank you for that. All right, Lake Girl, I'm going to play along. Lake Girl says, I'm surprised 4,000 fully vaccinated people with the virus is not big news. First of all, the vaccinations they're not designed to keep you from testing positive. They're designed from keeping you to get sick and dying. So the fact that somebody got vaccinated and tested positive is not news. Now, you keep repeatedly messaging this 4,000 people story that I've never heard, but let me look it up. Here's my 100% certain guess that it's not going to mean that the vaccines aren't working, okay? So my guess is that you have not done the basic degree of research, or you have an axe to grind. That's my guess. But let's play along. Let me play along and look this up. This supposed story that you are so panicked about, and that we should all be panicked about, and that I'm being negligent about by not pursuing this story that's going to show that the vaccines don't work, right? Let's play along. Let's do it. Okay, let me see. That you're so concerned about that you have to repeatedly talk about it in the chat. Let's see. Nearly 4,000 breakthrough COVID infections have now been reported in Massachusetts. Okay, let's read the article. Fine. The so-called breakthrough cases have so far been rare but are possible. The numbers of people who have tested positive account for approximately 1 in 1,000 vaccinated people in Massachusetts. In the last week, 150 vaccinated people tested positive. Are they sick? Does it talk about them being sick or just testing positive? The CDC stopped counting breakthrough infections last month. Instead, federal health officials are only tracking vaccinated people who ended up in the hospital or those who die. Did these people end up in the hospital or die? Let's see. I'm looking for that part. Let's see. I'm not seeing anything in it. Can you show me the part in here where it talks about the people testing positive, getting really sick and dying? Well, this article doesn't say anything about it. Okay. What else? This is from the Boston Herald. Nearly 4,000 fully vaccinated people in Massachusetts total have tested positive for coronavirus. That's 0.1% of vaccinated people. Okay, let's see. What does it say? The State Department of Public Health did not say how many of the breakthrough infections have been severe, but public health experts tell the Herald that many such cases are either asymptomatic or mild. We're learning that many of the breakthrough cases are asymptomatic or they're very mild and brief in duration, said BU Infectious Disease Director, Infectious Disease Specialist Davidson Haynes. The viral load is not very high. Breakthrough infections are expected. So why am I supposed to be panicking? Why am I supposed to be panicking about this story? Can you explain to me? I just read you the information that you kept repeatedly in the chat saying, why is he not covering this? Shouldn't he be covering this? Isn't this big news? Well, I just played along with your incessant complaining about this and your implication that I'm somehow being negligent. And I just showed you the information that took me all of 10 seconds to find. That's how long, I just Googled it. So please tell me, the person who originally posted that, tell me why was this so important for you to repeatedly say it and imply that I was being negligent and for you to say this is big news? Please tell me. Tell me what I missed in the stories I just read. When the infectious diseases specialist said this is expected and that we believe most of the cases are mild or asymptomatic. I'm waiting for your response. Lake Girl. I'm waiting for your response, Lake Girl. Let's see. Let's see what Lake Girl says. What did I miss? I haven't seen an answer yet. Now, if you find an article about this where lots of scientists are saying, oh, we really should be worried about the health effects from this, please let me know. That's not what the articles I just read you said from the Boston media. She wrote she only said it twice earlier. Well, she repeated it. And she implied that somehow I was being negligent because this was obviously big news, she said. Okay, well, interesting. So the reason so to answer your question, the reason I didn't report on it is I knew it wasn't big news. I knew that you were making a big deal out of it, either because you hadn't done basic research on it or because you had an axe to grind and are going out of your way looking for some anti-vax news, and that it was going to be a giant waste of our time to look into it. But I played along and looked into it yesterday anyway, and guess what? Everything I thought was the case was confirmed. Okay, anyways, can we end the stream now? Sean M says, why would 4,000 asymptomatic people be getting tested? I don't know why people are getting tested. Not all of them might have been asymptomatic, but maybe there are cases where people get I don't know if do people get tested for work and stuff? I have no idea. But it's certainly, if 4,000 people were really sick and that's why they were all getting tested, I think you'd be seeing that in the reporting. Thank you, ShaftZX. As you can also see, the CDC, as we read, has stopped reporting on just positive tests. Right? That's what the article said. It said the CDC was focusing on people who are, the exact quote was, down here, the CDC stopped counting breakthrough infections last month. Instead, federal health officials are only tracking vaccinated patients who end up in the hospital or those who die from COVID. So it's, they're not, the CDC is, what I should have said is the CDC is no longer reporting positive tests among vaccinated people. So clearly the CDC doesn't think it's that huge a deal because they're not really, they're not focusing on it and not reporting positive tests among vaccinated people. They're reporting vaccinated people who go to the hospital or vaccinated people who die. Okay. Anyways. All right. Oh, Sonic, I just saw your other email. Sonic, I will look at this after. I think this is for some research. I got to sit down and look at your other email about all this presstv.com stuff. I appreciate you sending it. I'll check it out after, Sonic. Thank you. Okay, first of all, hey, thank you to ShaftZX for your support. Thank you, ShaftZX, and thank you to Read Israel as well. I appreciate it, Read Israel. Thank you. And just to be clear here, the reason I talked about what Lake Girl said is the second time she mentioned it, she said, I'm surprised 4,000 fully vaccinated people with the virus is not big news. That's her exact wording. Basically saying, you're just overlooking this big news story. That's the way she phrased it. I didn't phrase it that way. She phrased it that way. So if you're going to imply that I'm overlooking some obviously big news story, which is actually not a big news story, then you need to be ready to be criticized for it and called out. Because that's what you did. Anyways, okay. Hey, thank you guys for watching. And we're gonna jump over to Lookner in a few minutes on YouTube. Hey, big thanks to our moderators, Melissa McQueen, Linda Belk. Thank you so much, moderators. Short Stack, Sarah 55, Lizzie, Sarah Joy, Lady Edith. Hang on. Ellie Bourne, Nightbot, Papa Bear, thank you, moderators. And hey, follow me on Twitter for breaking news coverage at Lookner on Twitter. Check out the Discord where you can chat with other viewers when we're not on the air, the Agenda Free TV fan Discord. The moderators can post that link. Also, the link's at the bottom of the YouTube video description. And if you sign up for the Discord, it's free, but if you sign up, you get really great notifications when I'm coming on the air so you don't miss a live stream. And if anybody's interested in being a volunteer moderator, that would be fantastic. You can ask the mods for more information on that. All right, now I want to thank the viewers. Hang on. Okay, thanks to our viewers, people like Barbara Danko, Kim Bragdon, John Elliott, Laura Boyd, John Michelle Pooney, Kent Jones, Leanne Ticknor, Roger Paul, WLO Gator, Shaggy, 11 Glowfly, Cyborgan. Daedric. Cornhusker. Seaswigum. New day, new account. Shaggy, on the sidewalk guy. 11 Glowfly. Thank you for watching. And letter artist Ann M. Aries, Puric, John Gidry, Christopher Lund, Michelle R. Darren Markley, Ann M. Jacqueline Morgan, History Underfoot, Strange Reverend, Nicole White. I didn't mention the earthquake because I think it was like a 5 something, so I normally don't really cover those. 5.8. So in Peru or near Peru. Yeah, normally I wouldn't cover a 5.8. It was a little off the coast. Mantronics, Anne, Darren Markley, and everybody else for watching. Thank you. Shaft, Reed Israel, Jacqueline Morgan, Jeff Ha. Okay. All right, guys, let me get off the air here, and we'll do a Lookner stream right after this. So I'll see you over there. Okay, so thank you again for watching. Oops, thanks for the lurkers too, and thanks to the moderators. Really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who donated. That's really nice of you. Very much appreciate the donations. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated. Reed Israel, Shafts, EX, Karch, Caprillius, Sonic, Babs, and the Slim Shadiest. Thank you. All right, guys, that's it for now. I'll see you hopefully over on Lookner in a little bit, and we will see you soon with more live news coverage here at Agenda Free TV and Agenda Free TV 2. Thanks.